Well, hey there, 8th graders. This is part 1 of two-part video on our next group of lessons, which is G3, Spatial Reorganization. So the summary for this group of lessons is that geographers study the patterns of human populations and environmental factors to discuss spatial processes. Changes in geographic spaces are a cause and effect relationship between economic, cultural, and political interactions. Migration as a result of push and pull forces, and birth and mortality rates are specifically studied for the causes and consequences on the reorganization of geographic spaces, including impact on the economic, political, and cultural development of a society. Our starter claim for G3 is that spatial reorganization is usually a result of migration. So our sources that we are going to observe and analyze in class are either going to support and or challenge that starter claim, but also think about how these notes are also supporting and challenging that starter claim. Get your fill-in-the-blank notes ready. We are going to take notes today on G3 Intro and then G3A. The intro was about spatial reorganization and economic, cultural, and political development. So just real quickly, cultural development would be that as Greek immigrants came to North Pinellas, they founded Tarpon Springs, and so now this is the largest Greek community outside of Greece. And then also looking at economic development, to the right is a map of Orlando with the symbols for the major theme parks. So as those theme parks developed in Orlando, the metropolitan area of Orlando changed and developed and got bigger. So for your notes, geographers believe that there is a pattern, a regularity, and reason to where people, places, and earth environments are located. And changes in the ways geographic space is organized are both causes and consequences of economic, cultural, and political interactions. So for an example of regularity, so most of the major cities in the world are located along water, either coastlines or rivers, as you see on this map. And this map is also interactive, showing how these cities are going to grow in population by the year 2100. But also, we looked at this map earlier in class. So the map on the left for Florida shows population density at night. And so you see right here, this is the I-4 corridor. It does not have very high population. But then after the economic development of Disney World, and then all of the other theme parks, now we see that the pattern has developed along the I-4 corridor and has spread both north and south of it. Changes in technologies, especially transportation, can influence the reorganization of space. So for example, cities either grow or decline based on how close they are to important transportation routes. An example is Route 66. So Route 66 was a road that went through a lot of cities from Chicago all the way to Santa Monica, California, and it was created in the 1920s. By 1985, Route 66 was no longer a usable passageway going straight from west to east or east to west, when on this map you see I-40, so Interstate 40, took over. So here you see that this picture on the left is this ranch motel that developed on Route 66. People traveled this route and they needed to stay the night. And then here you see this picture that is taken 40 years later. The motel is gone with the cafe because people are not traveling this road and staying in Sun Valley along Route 66. Two factors influence spatial organization, and they are called friction of distance and also spatial association. And so friction of distance just means that the further away places are, the less connected they are. So for instance, your parents probably go to the grocery store that is closest to your house. They wouldn't go to the Publix all the way in Tampa. So that would be an example of friction of distance. And then also we have spatial association, and that means the closer things are to each other, the more interrelated they will be. So if the dry cleaner is near the grocery store, which is also near where the hair salon is, that's spatial association. So they're going to be more interrelated to your regular day-to-day activities. Definitely technology such as the internet has decreased the impact of these two factors. So down on here I have the footprint of Amazon. So sites like Amazon, where you can order from anywhere and have it delivered to your doorstep, has decreased spatial association and friction of distance. Trade relationships and economic processes have a huge impact on reorganization of space. So increase in trade can result in more ports and distribution centers. So the more that a place is selling or buying products means that they're going to need more ports to send those products out or to receive those products, and then also distribution centers, and then also increased consumption of a product, for example, beef or oil, can result in devoting more land to producing that product. So related to that last bullet, there's these two images. This top left image, this is part of Amazonia in Brazil, and this dark orange is showing the areas that have the most increase in deforestation due to cattle. And then over here on the right is just a picture of cattle raising in the Amazon rainforest. So this right here is directly related to China. So as China's middle class is growing, they are changing their diet and consuming more beef. And so they are having an increased demand of beef raised in the Amazon rainforest, which is related to deforestation. Political change can affect how space is organized or reorganized. So for example, the first U.S. Capitol was in New York City until 1790, and then it moved to Washington, D.C., which was created in the middle of the new nation. Remember, there was only 13 states. This is showing the population of Washington, D.C. between 1790 and 2018. So you can see it's 1790 right here. There was not very much people at all. And then you have here where definitely it peaks, and it dropped a little bit, but it is still much, much higher. So once the capital was moved, then space was reorganized, where people moved their businesses, moved their restaurants, etc. Now we're ready for G3A, and this is about birth and mortality rates and how those are related to spatial reorganization. So birth and mortality rates shape spatial reorganization. So the more people, the more children that are born, then the more pre-K schools you're going to need, the longer people live in society, then you're going to need to create more nursing homes for them to be able to live once they are no longer able to live by themselves. Here you've got the age distribution of Pinellas County, and then up on the top this is a population pyramid, what we'll be doing in class, of Pinellas County. That shows the breakdown of ages. So societies go through stages where population growth or decline changes. These stages are influenced by culture, technology, economic development, and political policies. And the demographic transition model is used to explain these stages. So that's what this top graph is here, and we'll go more in depth about population pyramids and the DTM when we're in class doing G3A. But just as you have more births than deaths, you're going to have a population increase. So here you see this is a youthful population. We have a lot of children that are born. And then we're going to have where we have birth rate and death rate, where they kind of are at the same area. So like right here where they cross. And so that would be where the population stays the same. So let's say 10 babies are born in a week, 10 people die in a week. So the population does not really change at all. And then when we go over here to this stage 4, that's where the death rate is more than the birth rate. And so the population decreases. And this population pyramid right here would be an example of that. So you have more people that are living to an older age than you have people being born. Population changes have a huge impact on patterns of geographic space. For example, places with rapid population growth may need more land for housing, food, and businesses. So this graph right here shows population in North Dakota. So the U.S. population percentage change is in red since 2001. And as you can see, North Dakota is drastically shooting up. And so North Dakota, their population has increased because of oil fracking. And so oil fracking, there became a huge job incentive for families to move to North Dakota to work in the oil fields. And then they had to have this huge housing boom to so that those people would have a place to live. So that would be an example of population changing geographic space. And relationships between birth rates and mortality rates is influenced by health challenges, advancements in technology, and cultural values. So for instance, this map on the left would be an example of a health challenge. So this is about worldwide unsafe water killing more people than disasters and conflicts. So you see here, you had 780,000 people around the world dying because of unsafe water, and that's way more than natural disasters and conflicts combined. And then when you see this graph, it's really the central and southern parts of Africa. You also have some places here in the Middle East and in Asia that have those higher percentages of people not having access to safe drinking water. Over here on the right, this would be an example of cultural values. So this is showing the number of children that a woman has, which is in green, compared to how many years education that she has. So you can see, for example, in Niger, where a woman has less than 7 years education, they have the most children. And then here, where you have, let's say, the United States or New Zealand, they have around 14 years of education, and they have 1 or 2 children. These are all of our notes for G3 Intro and G3A. I will see you in class.